The Flash is the brand new DC film which just hit theaters on June 16th. The film is directed by Andy Muschietti, who's coming off directing both It films. He'll also be directing for James Gunn in his new Batman Brave and the Bold movie in the brand new DC universe. Back from the Snyderverse movies is Ezra Miller. All those controversies are not, we'll talk about it in a second, but Ezra Miller stars as both two versions of Barry Allen in this movie, as Barry has a lot to tackle in this movie. He realizes that he could time travel back into the past and save his mom, who died when he was a child. But by accident, he ruptures the multiverse and runs into a second version, an 18-year-old college freshman version of Barry Allen, who need to save the multiverse. When he finds this multiverse where there's an 18-year-old Barry Allen and his parents are alive, they run into Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne instead of Ben Affleck's version of Bruce Wayne in our known DC extended universe. Along the way, they meet Sasha Calle as Supergirl, and just taking place around the time of Man of Steel, Michael Shannon returns as General Zod, who once again is trying to destroy the Earth. The film is 2 hours and 24 minutes and is PG-13. Welcome back to a brand new movie review. We're talking about The Flash here on Max Talk Movies. My name is Max Sandberg. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell, do movie reviews, TV show reviews, weekly movie box office breakdown shows we do every single Monday, and movie rankings. Stay tuned. I will be doing a DC EU ranking, which will include both Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and The Flash. So stay tuned for that in the next couple of days. But so please subscribe, ring the bell. We're almost at 160 subscribers. Let's get there and keep building here on the channel. As well, please comment down below. First of all, if you have seen The Flash, did you like it? Did you not like it? Did the expectations kind of lead you in disappointment? Do you want to see Ezra Miller back as the Flash? We know all those things in the comment section down below. Again, no spoilers. I will be doing a spoiler review for this movie that will come out here on this YouTube channel on Monday. So leave your spoiler thoughts in the comment section for my spoiler review on Monday. Also, please like the videos. Thumbs up button really helps support the show. So let's get a couple things out of the way before I get into my review. The first thing is that there is one post-credit scene. It's at the very, very end of the credits that I do think you guys should definitely stick around for. So there's one post-credit scene at the very, very end of the credits. And again, I was going to say this right off the bat. I don't condone anything that Ezra Miller did in the past couple years since the principal photography was wrapping up for this movie a couple of years ago. They made a lot of mistakes, and they are very big mistakes. And I don't want to condone anything that Ezra Miller did in his past. I'm judging this movie on its own. And I do feel like that there's critics out there who are pushing this movie to highly negative, just trying to trash the movie because Ezra Miller is leading it, don't want to support the movie because it's Ezra Miller. And again, if you have that opinion and you don't want to watch this movie and you don't want to put money into possible, Ezra's pocket, I totally understand. But this is a review of the movie. As a critic, I think as a critic, you need to just talk about the movie as it is. So I just want to get that controversy kind of out of the way first. And without further ado, let's get into The Flash. So this had very high expectations. Again, multiple people calling it, not just David Zaslav, but even critics calling us one of, if not the greatest comic book movie of all time, the best DC movie since The Dark Knight, all these different things. And I do think for a lot of people who've heard these expectations, you're hearing a lot of disappointment. And again, for me, is it the greatest comic book movie of all time? No. But still, I do feel like the expectations were just too much through the roof for a lot of people, which I think will disappoint a lot of people. Hopefully not. Let's get my thoughts on The Flash. I think this is a damn fun time in the movie theater. This is a breath of fresh air, I think, for DC. And it gives you a little taste, I think, of what the future could be for the DCU moving forward underneath James Gunn and Peter Safran. This movie has a lot of comedy in the movie. It has a lot of nostalgia, obviously, through Michael Keaton's Batman performance and the music and all that comes with it. And it has a lot more emotional moments than I was expecting coming into this movie. But I think the best part of this movie by far is the performances. I think it really drives the movie forward. And that starts at the top with Ezra Miller, who has to play two versions of Barry Allen. They have to play the main version, who's the one that we've come to know for the last, I guess, 8 years now, since Ezra's debut in Batman vs. Superman, that cameo. And then Ezra has to play a 18-year-old version who's a lot less mature, who hasn't gone through the same things as Barry that our Barry has gone through. And it's a dynamic and unique performance. And I just feel like Ezra Miller just hasn't been able to show these off in the last couple of years. And I really gets held down by the Fantastic Beasts stuff. That trilogy just made Ezra look like a pretty bland, boring actor. And you can clearly tell that was just the writing, because Ezra brings so much um, acting chops and as a lead performer in this film. They are terrific as both Barrys. They're both very distinct. Yes, sure, one's more annoying and more immature, but it actually makes sense. And this is clearly Barry's movie. Yes, there's Supergirl, there's Batman, there's Batmans, as Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton are in the trailers. You have Zod. There's a lot going on, but down to its truest form, it's clearly the story about Barry and not just letting go of his past, but really understanding his own past and trying to come to terms with what happened in the past to not ruin the future and really the multiverse. And it's a big thing. And I feel like when they really focus the story on Barry Allen, especially the relationship between Barry and his mom, who is fabulous in the film. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. Maribel Verdu, who plays Nora Allen in the movie. She's terrific. And her chemistry both with 7-year-old Ezra played by 7-year-old little Barry played by Ian Lowe, and Ezra Miller are terrific. And it's a great dynamic. They have easily the best chemistry and the best emotional moments in the entire film. As Ron Livingston, who's now recast from Billy Crudup, plays Henry Allen, Barry's father, is not in the movie as much as I think a lot of people were expecting. But again, Ezra is this movie, and they are the driving force for why this movie works. Again, it's controversy aside, it's a terrific performance. And I think if obviously if everything can work out, and they can really find their way back to being mentally healthy and do whatever they need to do, I really would be interested to see if they do keep Ezra moving forward for the DCU. The other big act of this movie is Michael Keaton, who does deliver just as good, just like where he left off 30 years ago with his 2 Batman films. Not just when you see him for the first time, but his voice, just like it was back in 1989 with the first Batman film, it eases right back into the movie. Not just is that nostalgic, but his whole Wayne Manor is very nostalgic, and they do play the Danny Elfman score a lot when he is on screen, which really put me back to when I was growing up watching this movie. Again, I didn't grow up in 1989, but still, movie that I've seen my whole life. Never seen Keaton in the theater before as this character, so that was just amazing seeing. And I didn't feel it wasn't very similar to No Way Home with those 2 big cameos at the end, but this didn't feel like pure crowd-pleasing fan service. Keaton's character does have an essential part to the story, which I did like as well. Sasha Calle is great as Supergirl. She doesn't get as much time or much to do as much as I wanted her to have, but when she's on screen as Supergirl, she is Supergirl. So hopefully Gunn can probably keep her moving forward. Also, Kiersey Clemons returns as Iris West for the first time in a theatrical movie. She does a very good job in the limited screen time that she gets. Ben Affleck is, again, very terrific in his very much limited screen time. Was definitely not in this movie as much as I thought, but I do think they do explain the multiverse very well. Now, again, I think they're also assuming, as a lot of people know, that the multiverse has now been a big thing in movies now since Across the Spider-Verse in 2018. And even gave for Marvel, What If, Doctor Strange, No Way Home, and just got Across the Spider-Verse 2 weeks ago. So I think they're just also assuming a lot of people know about the multiverse, but I did think they set up the rules good. There were stakes, and I was actually shocked how emotional the film did get. And I really did care about Barry and his family a lot in this movie, which I was very, very impressed with. So overall, it is a really fun time in the movie theater. There are some negatives I do want to bring up. The most glaring negative for the movie is the CGI visual effects, which you've seen a lot of articles about. And Andy Muschietti kind of talked about how they've been did that on purpose. But there are still a couple sequences. It's one of the most frustrating movies from a CGI point of view, because there are, again, the 2 Barrys to me did seem, I would say 90% of the movie were seamless when there's 2 Ezras on screen at the same time. And there's times where they use, especially the Speed Force, and you can kind of see Barry's powers. You can really tell the CGI is really good, but there's just some glaring CGI, not good CGI visual effects in this movie. Especially there's a sequence that is very drawn out. Again, the opening action scene is fantastic until this one thing happens, and the CGI for me was too bad. It kind of pulled me out of the movie, and there's too many sequences in this movie, I think, where it kind of looks like a video game and a cartoon more than it does something that's really happening. And I do think the CGI visual effects were definitely the most glaring weakness to this movie. And again, this movie's been sitting on the table for a long time, and even if they think they did it intentionally, it doesn't mean that I have to like the CGI or visual effects in the movie. And there were just too many glaring mistakes. Again, this movie has over $200 million budget, and there's sometimes you can really feel the scale, and the CGI is excellent. And there's other times I think there's either awesome CGI, and then there's like the highest form CGI visual effects, and then you also get the very, very low. And I think you got a lot more of the very, very low CGI special effects than you got the very best. So that was definitely a glaring issue. Another, I think, a big issue that I think a lot of people are going to start to talk about is just they did shortchange a couple of the main characters who get added into the movie. Supergirl doesn't really show up until much later in the movie, and she just doesn't seem as consequential to Barry's story as much they were trying to. Again, love Sasha Calle. It's great casting. I like her performance as Supergirl, but they definitely didn't give her much to do. Same thing to Iris West, who obviously is a big love interest for Barry in the comics. I don't really think they did a good job. Again, Clemens and Miller have great chemistry, but they just don't have enough scenes to really build them as a romance in the near future. I wish they had more time because they do have great chemistry, but it just didn't get enough screen time together as well. And I also think they didn't do just anything with Zod. It's kind of just a waste of bringing back Michael Shannon, who basically says for the most part the same dialogue that he did back in 2013, 10 years ago now, in Man of Steel. And it's great to see Zod and the Kryptonians back, but you can definitely tell Zack Snyder knew how to use those characters and especially the Kryptonian action scenes a lot better than what Andy Muschietti has. Those three characters for me in particular just definitely got shortchanged, definitely pulled this movie back. And I think there was a few times in the second act leading into the third act where the story kind of loses its way with Barry trying to focus on resetting the multiverse or saving his mom or whatever he's trying to do to do stuff with Batman, to do stuff with Supergirl and Zod. I think the movie could have been a bit more focused than its large-scale nature. But overall, this is a damn good movie, in my opinion. Is this the greatest comic book movie of all time? It's definitely not. But I just really enjoy the movie. It's really fun. It's hilarious. I was laughing a lot during the movie. The nostalgia is here in big ways. I think it all works in the right way. The action scenes are a lot of fun. I think the emotional beats really hit in this movie, especially with the Barry and his mom relationship does really hit in this movie. I do think the CGI is too glaring and they do shortchange a lot of the characters, and I wish it was a bit more focused. But overall, for me, I'm going to give The Flash 4 out of 5 stars. I am going to go 84% for The Flash. I had an absolute blast with this movie. Can't wait to watch it again. And stay tuned, guys, on this channel coming up. We're going to have a DCEU ranking, including The Flash, and you're going to have my Flash spoiler review on Monday here on the channel. So please stay tuned, subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys around soon.